by this so I can click away. A couple of you and just briefly introduce myself. Jordan Terry's background in architecture, like this stuff. Yeah. And then decided in my final semester I didn't want to do that, and ended up joining a ex-wife in a adventure of doing massage therapy, and that led me down a rabbit hole I never knew would take me around the world. And so just say I now do human architecture, looking at bones, structure, and then engineering, like the Kat was talking about, like the nervous system, and how we can make change to the body through the nervous system and the brain. And then I just generally, because of how I work with the body and everything like that, when people ask what do I do, I just say I help humans move better, feel better, play better, live better, all that fun stuff. So dental polarity came out of a little bit of that struggle that you were talking about, of going to courses, and that was like the way, and you had to do it that way. And it was contained information and you can't share, and it's almost like a cult. And I drank the Kool-Aid, and I'd come home and I'd be like, everybody needs just to do this one thing. And then I'd quickly find out that was not true, and then it was like, I need to build, my toolbox to a tool shed, to a warehouse, so that depending on if Chris comes to me Monday and then Friday, I need to adapt because she's not going to be the same person. So that was that one part of it, and then the other side of it was I was going back through Dr. Randolph Stone, brilliant guy that founded polarity therapy. I was going through his work, and it's all online for free. Really amazing stuff. It's terribly written, with some pretty cool illustrations. And the reason he kind of developed polarity therapy was it's a reiteration and an evolution of Ayurveda, actually, speaking of that recently. And he felt and sought that, after time, stuff has its original energy and then it needs to be repurposed and redone. So polarity therapy. And as I looked at it, as we look at the universe, micro or macro, this exists. And so all therapies, exercise training, strengthening, fascial stretch, trigger point, all these things, what they're doing is they're changing the polarity of the body. And that's the balance. So everything is dual, right? So we have left and right, we have flexion and an extension, we have night and day. And everything has poles, so we have the darkness of the night and the brightness of the day, but then there's some point, and these are what we call in demon poses opposites. So there's some points like, is it day yet? When do I call it day and when is it night, right? And so this is the inherent dualism that we see in the world, and but it's all one, right? And I love that, with the ability to zoom in at life now, we can not actually tell where your nose ends and mine begins. Like, that's how powerful our technology is. And that's fascinating to me. So this is how we come to know stuff. Being in pain and not being in pain. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. And so I really started seeing that all of these Kool-Aids that I drank were different languages about trying to get and do the same thing. And so why would I drop something like Trigger Point? That was what I built my business on to start. Red dots everywhere, that's all I saw. Why would I drop that? Because I went and did something else that, their little voodoo and way and show, that's the way, and I just throw that out of the way. Or one of my favorite forms of body work is called chewing up, which that's what you were describing. When you rub and you slap and you pinch, these are all stimulating specific nerve endings of the body. That's one of my favorite ones. Oh, and so I was waiting to this moment to explain why a light rumble and some person would drive them crazy is because it could be revving up a specific issue and that will piss them off. But for the next person, that'll tone it down and they'll love it.
Yeah.
So one person's like, yes, you can pet me all day and they'll purr. And the next person's like, you do that and I'll swing at you.
It's like the ASMR, whatever that stuff is. It's like the weird, people whisper to you, and like it's this whole bizarre
I don't know.
type of therapy. It drives some people absolutely insane. It's like the crinkling. There was a NFL, like a commercial on it, right? It was like a Bud Light or something.
That's on Twitch too.
But it's all the internal balancing act that's going in for that person and their nervous system. And everything's constantly being calculated by the brain in terms of stimuli of everything going on, including things that we're well not aware of. And so some of these styles of touch either rev something up and make it more intense, or it tones it down and balances it out. So there's a pair, there's always a pair. This is the way that the world works, whether we look outside or inside, and this is what the Taoists were talking about many moons before us, right? So really, I love all the arguing that goes on about who's right, because they're all arguing about one thing. A friend of mine sent me an article ages ago that says, everything works and nothing works. And I was like, you're on to something. And that's part and parcel of what this all became. So when she asked to teach to this, because so I came in from architecture and then body work and then functional movement and then actually movement training. But in terms of functional movement training or movement training in general, I just call it fundamentals. Like I don't teach a single person how to do a snatch or any loaded stuff. It's all just the basics. And so that's why we're gonna start with breath. So speaking of which, I want you to breathe. And I want you to breathe in and out and as full as possible on both extremes. This is our first polarity that initiates life and our last polarity that finishes life. And so I want you to notice what you feel. So I'll share what I feel when I inhale deeply, kind of have a posterior rib cage. Just speaks to me like, I could be more open. I feel like my ribs could expand more. I really feel my ribs. And then I love posing people. I'll give you a second there, just a few breaths. And we love focusing on what we can feel, right? Especially our clients that are in pain. We love to focus on that. And so, the polarity, the other side of that, like, what can't you feel? It's just like paradox. But I want you to just take a moment again and like, okay, I felt what I felt. And if your breathing apparatus goes from your pelvic floor to your cranium, extend your awareness through that cord. And what's a dark zone? What's a zone that you're like, I have no fucking clue what's going on there?
Like base of the skull.
Yeah.
When it's at the base of the skull, it's like, oh god.
That's it. Dark. And then what did you feel?
After the rawness?
As
As a feeling, I felt a lot more ribcage. Whereas I pull in the air, I tried belly, I tried, up top.
But up here. No, but I'm saying, but then up here, this is like a duck.
Right, yeah, it was all lower, right? So it's here. So what I'm missing, what I'm not feeling again, is a very tricky question because it's like saying, where are you not looking? And so you're like, okay, this is drawing my attention, but where else? Like, why not my foot? Why not my toe? Why not? So it's a fun game.
feel it right here.
I'm like, I bet if I push it up there, then I'm like, oh, let's push it up there.
Anyone have any discomfort in here at all with the breathing that they're noticing?
Yeah.
That's a good feeling. So I love posing this one. This is with breath perspective, but when I work with people, they love, right, like they come in and they're like, my knee hurts, my knee. And then, you know, they're standing there like this, with like, nothing. And I'm like, my knee hurts looking at your foot. Like, are you aware of that? Or, I had a guy come in, he's a bartender and elbow pain, and his contralateral foot was literally on edge, totally off, and I was like, don't move. I was like, are you aware of what your foot is doing? And he looked down and was like, no. And so we, you know, some full body motion in like 4 minutes, and we went back to his elbow pain, and he was like, it's gone. The foot found center again. We raised awareness to an area, and I was like, well, great. We have 55 minutes. What do you want to do? So, as I mentioned, like with sitting on one's foot, I think it can. I had some big ahas listening to you. It really comes down to blood supply. And blood supply is intimately linked with our breath and our breathing. And that's like one of the ultimate places to start. So yeah, I regularly speak to people like, okay, I hear that you experience pain, but the reason that you can feel pain there is because you have vascular supply. And so very often, it's the area that the brain can't find a dark zone. Like if I sat on my foot for 5 minutes and then I got up to walk, it would be a really weird experience. Well, that happens from repetitive use and stress and trauma on all different levels. But the brain doesn't have access to, like, I don't know, something over here, right? Like broken ribs. That's the classic. Because what do? After you break a rib, you learn not to breathe there. And not laugh and don't sneeze. And so then, you know, then they're like, my shoulder really hurts. And, you know, you said hold your rib cage. Can you feel that expand? And regularly with those people that have broken a rib or two, there's no movement there. And when there's no movement, you know, the Chinese analogy to meridians is when there's movement, there's life, and when there's stagnation, there's death. So, from the architectural background, when I got into massage, looking and doing anatomy was super easy, while, you know, everyone else was like, why do we need to know this? I'm intuitive. It's like one of my biggest triggers early on. And while there may be truth to that, I also find your intuition will grow with the more study and knowledge and depth of things we can measure and study, and then we just begin to pile experience and then.
I always find I like working with architects because it's physics. Our bodies are physics, and they understand physics and load and all that stuff. I'm like, this is brilliant. I love working with architects.
It is. Buildings are way easier though.
Yes.
Because if we took this building and we flipped it upside down, it would crumble, right? It's designed this way and shear load and earthquake resistant, but it can't lay on its side.
Yeah.
It can't do a somersault. And it doesn't feel shitty on Friday. or Monday.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's termite.
It's not. Yeah. It doesn't dread the holidays. So structure and flow. The physical anatomy of man is the accepted foundation starting point of nearly all healing arts today. That's from Dr. Randolph Stone, founder of therapy. Funny enough, that's a slight at healing arts, but I always remember one of my, my deep tissue mentor, he was like, I'm just working on meeting people where people are at. And so if I start talking about, you know, even biopsychosocial to them in a certain form or fashion, they're like, whew, too much. So if I can start at the knee, the hip, the bones, things that which we can all, oh yeah, they're there, they're real. So in my mind, I break that down to, you know, the structure, our architecture, all the compressive and tensile structures that holds together muscular and skeletal systems, the sinews, the tensegrity model that is so beautiful and amazing and wonderful things that we are. And then there's the flow, which is like everything else, right? So this is an image from Heart Math, which is not far from here. And that all needs to move as well. So that's why like 9 of the other 11 systems, even though we can arguably at some point see breath rate, because it's kind of within, or even the vascular heart pumping. Always remember trying out for varsity soccer and, you know, doing running trials or whatever, and like looking down at one point and like seeing my chest actually beat out of it. And then emotions. There's a cool this documentary you can call it on Gaia channel, and it's called E-Motion, with the principle that's supposed to be energy and motion. So if these things come through us and we honor them and let them go. Love the quote. No one in the history of letting anything go has ever let something go by being told to let it go.
Relax.
Yeah. Just like, but there's something that's very real, and they're a communication from our bodies, which are in the moment, whereas the mind is rarely ever, right? Anxious in the future, depressed about the past. Bodies that are our anchor right here. And so it's something that has to be honored. You know, my favorite was a woman with 20 years of shoulder pain and frozen shoulder. Saw her Monday. She was good for 4 days. Like, no shoulder pain for the first time in 20 years. And then Friday at she named the time on a holiday weekend when family came over. It snapped back and it came back worse, so she canceled her future appointments with me because she didn't want it to get even worse. And I was like, this is gold information, look, you were good for 4 days, and it didn't matter. It's just, you know, we can't separate the emotional body from all of that. Like I said, I had a cranial sacral background, trippy. The screen difference. And with craniosacral therapy, you know, cranium and sacrum, but also a diaphragm. So those are the 3 major body holds that we were taught. And if you could just bring balance to those, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Eric Dalton mind skeletal alignment technique. I remember him early on hearing him, and he was like, you know, if you can just balance these closer to 50-50, the human's going to be a lot happier. Same thing was said in craniosacral therapy, and you can go somewhere else. Balance to these 3 zones, which are 3 of the major diaphragms of the body, right? So intake, processing, and excretion. And they're also the major craniosacral fluid pumps of the body. And that fluid I was viewed as like electric goo. I don't really know what it is. I don't count the rhythms of it, but I'm grateful I have mine and I like it flowing. So at the cranium, you have the sphenobaselar junction. The whole osteopathic model is based off the flexion and extension of the sphenoid and the occiput. Falx and tentorium are the reciprocal tension membranes, so they're what keep the stretch, you know, so if you kind of hold your head and take a big inhale, you'll feel a light expansion. And Falx and tentorium is holding that together. Or if you take a knock to the noggin, the fascia externally and internally, I love this, an AT gave me I don't know how they measured it, but human cranium without fascia can take like 40 pounds of pressure, but with the fascia it can take 400 pounds of pressure. I would love to see those trials. Yeah. What did they do? And then I also find really, and we're going to maybe play with it later, the soft palate is a really important zone and area, right? So if we breathe in this hole or this hole, it kind of has to pass that soft palate. Really important zone in there as well. Right. I love this. This is just my own geeky anatomy on the different systems and breath and the connections to different things. But inside of your nose, there's a bone called the vomer bone, and it's not really fused to anything. It kind of floats and sits in a wedge in your groove with your sphenoid. And so every breath you take, whether it's really super calm or really, it vibrates that bone. And so it vibrates, and the sphenoid bone, on the back side of where that attaches, sits your pituitary gland. So there's your endocrine system, and then hypothalamus, and then thalamus. And so within about 2 square inches of your brain, you have respiration, endocrine, and nervous system all connected. Right there. Super quick, and all just on a simple vibratory basis. So then as we get to the processing diaphragm, that is the breathing diaphragm, which is of course extremely attached to the heart, right? It's really beautiful, thick fascia attachments. 2 of those there. Of course, if I increase my heart rate, or apparently if I breathe in one nose versus the other. And then, yeah, ribs. And then the bottom one, sacrum, pubic symphysis. This is one that a lot of people do not pay attention to, but that is the keystone of your pelvis. So many people, focus on SI joints or as is being aligned or something like that, without ever checking pubic symphysis. Ask for permission first. Heard of a colleague in New York that got sued. Anyways, weird stuff. But that joint is so powerful and important for so much movement and happiness and back pain, not happiness. And then of course the pelvic floor, also very important in there as well. So my first course is all about the axial skeleton because of this, right? So if we have the cranium, then you have all the cranial nerves that you're helping to tone down, desensitize. Cervical plexus, to my fingertips, and face. Of course, then through the thoracic, rib cage, lumbar, and sacrum, legs and butt. And so, by focusing just on this quote-unquote core, you can make great change within the human body. Because all the information that's telling you about what's going on has to be processed in the brain. So, BPS model loves to say it's an interpretation in the brain. I love to think that it's communication between body and brain. That pain, no one wants to live with it, but when you really know it, you're so grateful for having it. Because otherwise, if you hang on a hot plate, you can do some serious damage instead of letting go of it.
People who don't feel pain don't live very long.
There's some crazy stories.
Yeah.
Remember?
Conditions.
Well, there's that woman that's 70 that they wrote
Yeah,
about.
she's like the only one.
She's really, really interesting. She has much less anxiety than the average person.
Yeah, that was a weird.
That was a super fascinating article in the New York Times,
Yeah.
like
Oh, cool.
4 or 6 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Missed it.
Yeah.
Do you remember her name?
Oh, I wish. I bet if you Google,
The New York Times.
Yeah,
New York Times woman who doesn't feel pain.
Woman who doesn't feel pain.
Yeah.
She'll pop right out.
Yeah, it was fascinating. That.
So, yep, there we go. So deemed it spinal breathing, because it's just about moving your spine. But slow down, because the best movers are often the worst because they're so good at compensating quickly around things. And so if we can get that breath to slow down, and if we can use breath to move the structures, profound stuff happens, because I think oxygen goes up, which helps with pain, and blood flow goes up. So if blood flow washes into a new area that was previously dark, and the brain's like, oh, I see, I do have these what I thought were broken and damaged ribs, but look, they're still there and they're doing okay. And now all of a sudden, when you walk, the brain will allow shift, and then all of a sudden, my shoulder doesn't hurt because I'm not trying to pull my body with what wasn't there. According to your brain, according to the motor controls. So spine breathing's to be a calming technique, parasympathetic inducing, and then always, if you make the exhale longer, it will be a parasympathetic experience. I saw this guy do a lesson on breathing, pulling from Buteyko and all these different things and restorative breathing, and he was a doctor in the military, and he was saying, never tell a panicking person to just take a deep breath. He's like, it's the worst advice ever. They tell them to exhale all the way. Because naturally what's going to happen as long as they are living, exhaling it, they will finally get that deep breath. So that exhale also, that's when oxygen goes to the tissues. And again, oxygen has that relaxing, right? Have you ever seen oxygen lounges? Everyone's really chill. Everyone's super chill. And then I always think of Fight Club. When he talks about like, why do you think everyone's addicted? Because it's oxygen straight to you. The other thing I mentioned, the restorative breathing, was a course I did ages ago, and some of it, this is slightly different from it, but they were talking about sinking through major diaphragms, and that's having the full breathing apparatus be the balloon that it's supposed to be, right? So if I restrict all through here and just breathe, well, I'm going to take up here, but then it's like taking a balloon and putting a rubber band or something around it. It's not going to get the full, and so if you don't have the full access, then the bones won't move. If the bones aren't moving, the blood won't move, the blood won't move, the nerves aren't caught in, and it goes on like that. So I've seen this in Qigong, some stuff from Mantak Chia. There was a guy in Santa Barbara that teaches Zen Shen Gong, it's the Qigong, unconditional love, and he taught the same movements. Anatomy and motion, if you've heard of that with Gary Ward. He doesn't teach it with breath, but it's just sagittal calms. It's physics. Move this way, this needs to counterbalance that way, polarity, and this needs to go the other way, that way, or we topple over. Most of the time we don't want to do that. And then the other thing of it is it can just be done anywhere. There's no excuse to not practice, to not breathe. There's no excuse. Actually, there is a great one, regular, and I will admit to it too, I forgot. But fortunately, my autonomic nervous system has got it down, and I make it through the day. But, when I lived in Santa Barbara, I had to drive the 101 through a pinch point, and it was just summertime traffic every day. And I could choose to be pissed off, or I could practice breathing and listen to some good tunes. So there is, talks and thoughts on structure and flow and movement and posture. I do find that good posture puts us in a way that things line up and the energy flows. And bad posture, but bad posture is not bad posture necessarily. Like you were saying with words, it's not bad. Like I have seen some of the most bewildering clients, they cannot get into a flex state because they have harped in that this is good and that's bad. And they're literally stuck in extension straight through, created a straight T-spine, and then they wonder why their neck hurts. And they're just stuck like this. This isn't bad. We need this. We need flexion. We need extension. We need both. So we'll just go through these kind of together in just understanding them. And so here we have, polarity, look at the arrows flip-flopping all over the place. And then here's where craniosacral. So that was one of the big things with craniosacral. It was beautiful. I love receiving it. And would get great results with people, and they'd be good for a few days or something, and then life would happen. And I found that people were coming back to me to relax, to find a way to relax. To basically activate these pumps. And it got to the point where it was like the person was just showing up, and what took some work and techniques before, their nervous system now knew me and my space. And so it was like walking into the gym they love, they walk into my room that they love, and boom, and all of a sudden like, oh yeah, my neck's better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so this is kind of cool, but we need to have a conversation, because otherwise you're paying my bills, which I'm okay with, but we need to have a talk. And so I wanted to, empower people.
Yeah.
And this was one of the simplest, easiest ways, is just this simple breathing technique, and using breath to move bones, and all the good stuff that does. So when we exhale, we're looking to get rid of what's in our lungs, so we're reducing space, and so that posture is really good for getting rid of that. The butt tucks, so that's a posterior tilt. The rib cage anterior tilt, so my xiphoid drops towards my pubic bone, and then this comes out, flexion, extension, right? So posterior tilt to the cranium and the pelvis, and then we have cranial sacral, and then we get out of that by reversing it all. Anterior tilt to the cranium, so now the anterior and the neck flexors take on, extensors go long, so lifting the back of the head while tucking, and then I like to get people to kind of keep their eyes straight ahead, so they're not using their eyes and nodding too much, so that it's just more in and out. Lifting the xiphoid process, posterior tilt to the rib cage, which creates an arch in the low back, the sacrum rises, and the pubic bone drops. And then, like with people that are perfectionists, this is a lot at times, and they get all upset and frustrated about something that's supposed to be calming. And so I like breaking it down for people. So what we can do, is we'll do the three different ones, and we'll all do them together, so that you can kind of have those cues and cueing and what you feel and experience, and then we'll try to sync them up, and then we'll see how timing's doing. And I have more if needed. So on the floor, I want you to try legs straight first. And you're gonna just the pelvis, right? So obviously some stuff has to move, but you're just gonna really seek to accentuate. So it's not cheating and using muscles. I want you to feel your breath actually begin to move the bones. And so on your inhale, pull your pubic bone down towards your feet. And on the exhale, pull your belly button down. And while nasal breathing is best, some people sometimes a year can't do it. I officially fell in love with Wim Hof when I saw him on a talk. And he said he was going through all these different styles of breathing and this and that, and he was kind of serious and then mocking him, and he was like, breathe through any hole. I was like, yes, okay, I like this guy. So nasal is best. If you can make the exhale longer, that'll be more calming. And then bending the knees so your feet are down will really change the sensation and feel. So again, you should be seeking to isolate the sacrum, pelvis, and you really feel rolling on the sacrum. See if you can get your back flat on an exhale. And then creating the arch from the inhale. around the belly button. You know, exhale, pull it down towards the ground. Exhale, inhale, balloon it up. Around the low back, the arch in the back. A lot of people are wearing that. Flattening it or arching it. The pubic bone. Pulling that down towards your toes. Or tucking your tail. And then I want you to just take a few breaths without accentuating the pelvis, but still breathing down the belly. You don't have to like just isolate that, but I want you to see from here if you can feel the pull up to your cranium. Have a deep dive fascia. So oftentimes when people aren't thinking about it, when I'm coaching them, they have it right in their cranium, their sacrum are synced, and they're following each other, and then they get in their heads and it gets awkward and they unsync. So it's fascinating to watch and pay attention to and be very aware of our words. So that's the pelvis isolation. I helped a young fella who had 4 brain surgeries get rid of migraines for the first time in 3 years because it wasn't a cranial issue, it was that his sacrum wasn't moving. So all I did was hold the scars and the bones that were affected by the surgeries while he learned to safely breathe back down into his sacrum. And the mom brought him, actually did it in front of class. I remember kind of half freaking out in my own head. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything here. He brought him back in the next day and you could see his eyes were more open and he didn't have a migraine for like the first time in years.
Nice.
And honestly, it wasn't anything I did other than, I was the tour guide to say, I know you had all this happen up here, but your sacrum, for whatever reason, has shut down. Let's breathe back into that. Let's bring life back to where there wasn't, flow to where there was stagnation. So that is for the sacrum. Notice what you notice. And we'll get on all fours for the rib cage actually. Rib cage is a modified cat-cow. So whether you want toes under or not, that doesn't really matter. I might sneeze here. Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You're going to put your hands down, you're going to spread them out as much as possible so you have contact through the palms and all your fingers and pads. And then you're going to keep your eyes between your fingers, right? So that the eyes always stay here. And so to isolate the rib cage, we're going to also incorporate the arms, right? So as as this cat, my head stays here, looking between my arms, and I round my back and internally rotate both arms. And then exhale, sag into cow, and posteriorly tilt my rib cage. And I externally rotate both arms. I'm going to watch you for a second. So you can even reach with your neck a little bit when you go into that exhale. Further accentuate the shoulders. And again, keeping the eyes between the hands is like a vestibular centering thing, where like cacao has its benefits of looking up and down and moving the neck more. This is more to just help move that. So you're just using your breath. I like to think of the ribs as gills of a fish, so they should all move. Can you feel segmentation? Can you feel opening? Flexion and extension. And can you use breath? So like in the pelvis, I really felt a couple areas that like hiccup. And hiccups are typically what I deem as like neurological skips. Because we might be going too fast, and the brain's like, I don't really know it there, so I'm going to go to where I know. And so I always pay attention to like, where do I skip? Or if I'm working with someone, where are they skipping? And can you just go even slow? Can you slow down? I loved an article that deemed this time period and frame the great pause. And so like, yeah, some other things you can just really drive through your hands as well. So you're like almost creating pronation, supination of your hands if they were feet. Creating our arms into hands and arms into a closed chain environment. I find it really to be interesting how that reveal stuff or enliven stuff. And then notice what you notice there with the last couple breaths. If I was standing, I'm gonna do it here on the column. You can find a wall. Set your butt, set your shoulder blades, and set your cranium on whatever vertical surface you choose. And you can put your heels a couple inches away from the wall. And so now we're going to isolate the cranium. So on my inhale, I'm going to use that proprioception in the back of my head to slide it up, making my neck long and short, long in the back, short in the front. And then exhale. And pick that spot straight ahead.
So it's an exhale as the chin goes up.
Correct.
And an inhale.
Yep. The architecture of this, the cogs of it, not only does the inhale make space for the lungs, but also the vertebra. So that'll decompress C-spine and TMJ, and compress TMJ and C-spine. And this is, sometimes with people with like pretty locked in forward head posture, you can utilize like, I think I saw one, like one of these little squishy balls. These are great, so they can still get that feedback and get them upright and standing. If someone's issues are more when they're on their feet and it's not a foot issue, this is a great thing to get them going and rocking and feeling. Moving the feet away from the wall sometimes will make it a little bit easier for someone. comfortable in, and come back and just do full breathing, seeking for all three of those to happen at the same time. So I expect everyone in here being movers. There's a lot of people I work on who go on one thing, and if they can get that one thing, but that's what they go home with to practice on. And so now I just want you to kind of feel this of like, when I inhale, instead of me going, back extensors go, just using my breath to see how far I can go and get everything going, and then reverse everything to the exhale. So just whatever position's comfortable, seek to sync those three. So again, like driving is one of my favorite places to do this, to bring awareness to breath, feel calm and more aware, and like I did my meditation for the day or something like that. I do love the quote that one conscious breath is a meditation. When you say standing, it's also interesting to, if you feel like everything's sinking, paying attention to what do your feet do. You anteriorly tilt pelvis and create some internal rotation. If internal rotation, you can have eversion. If you have those two things, you're gonna have pronation and the reverse. So in the olden days, when I would work with clients, I had the visual cues and I would not touch them and just see and coach so that they would go and learn. And then I would do like cranial or myofascial holds of just holding them. And I could feel, this is how what I do in train, I could feel the dead zones. And I would end up on like, I'd be like, I remember working with one guy and I was like, right here, there's no movement, nothing's going on. What's going on here? And he's like, oh, I had a appendectomy and then I had testicular surgery where they used that scar and went back in and through. And it was just a dead, dark zone with, posterior pain, but nothing, no balloon here. And we just worked on that, and I'll just touch it, tap it. Hello. Say hi. Let your brain know you're here. I would love to hear anything that happened during that experience for you. Anything in your body, any ahas or uh-ohs.
My neck was backwards. Like, I was like, oh, I got it. And then I went reverse. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then, when they're more at the neck tension and everything's, for me, it's exhale related. So it's like, oh, that brings everything. Got it. It's like, same thing with the cranial sensation on the breath. Like, this is its own entity that is locked. So, very cool.
Take it back.
Yeah.
I noticed that sometimes if I let my body calm myself down after like a stressful drive or something, I'll go and I'll feel my skull go like that. And that's when I know I'm like, yeah, I'm calm. It's so interesting because I'll be like react when I'm driving and staying that way, and then also it's just what it reminded me of.
that way. You know, depending on the read of the person, I would ask, you know, what keeps you from a nice deep exhale? Why, you know, why are you incapable to just get to that? It's okay to slouch. Well, I mean, you can also sit up there. Yeah.
What's your position 5 minutes later?
What's that?
What's your position 5 minutes later? That's what I used to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Like, your horse pasture is just what's the next one? Right.
Yeah.
I like that, especially for like the people who get freaked out about the breath, if you tell them to focus on a movement with it, like makes them focus, they're like, okay, I'm just doing this and then breathing. Okay, and it sort of takes the tension away from the breath.
Yeah.
You're just focusing on the breathing. You get, okay, now I gotta think about this while I'm doing, right? Calms the monkey brain.
Some trainers gave me that one because I'm less of a trainer in my view, just a tour guide. Of coaching bones. The lay person that's not as explorative into their body and a training or a trainer is way easier to understand and comprehend. You know, like, come on, activate your glute. And they're like,
No, that's not.
I don't have any. But, you know, 99% of people, for whatever reason, understand tuck your tail.
Yeah. Tail punch.
Get that.
They like that.
Or if I teach them at this point here, there's a xiphoid process, they're like, what? That's a cool new name, it somehow sticks, and we're gonna just lift that and lower it. Or breastbone, sternum, most people have that, you know, and using those bones. And then they can, you know, I'll end up taking their hands.
Yeah.
So like on the leg, yep. Or putting it over their belly, you know. So when stuff's reversed, they call that paradoxical breathing,
Yeah.
which is actually a fun practice. To do it backwards. It's a real kind of mind game, especially after like you just trained it. Because the other thing I want to do is not say like, you know, it's not bad to go the other way. This is just kind of the physics.
Yeah.
And this is the physiology of what happens. But don't get stuck with like, oh God, I'm backwards.
Yeah. Like cat camel, like which do I breathe? I'm like, try both of them.
Yes.
See how they feel.
And be like, I just can't remember which way is which. And like, the in fills, the out exits. That's all you have to get. That's all you need to do. So, this is just one plane of motion. This is just breath. This does wonders. The trainers that I have taught this that come back to me and utilize this, they'll get instant gains with people because it's just sinking the core to be on, to be ready, to drop the BS of the stuff that they came in with their life, to get back in their bodies, to be in this moment, to do what needs to be done right before us. And so they're saying that we get these instant gains out of clients that, you know, the clients love and see, and it's like money in the bank for them. It's also just, you know, so many people weren't taught to breathe. And so if you can just give somebody some little simple cue that
You don't know what you don't know.
right. It's like, I can't even make my arms that big. I know what I know, I know what I don't know, and just a couple more minutes. Something I've been playing with just to get a little more intense with it is comfortable position again, so you're standing. Bringing it back to the soft palate. We compress in gravity, but we also hang. Right? We're always hanging. That's why we can do this. And we hang from about the soft palate. It's, you know, it's depicted from like your TMJ, but essentially it would be about your soft palate. So I want you to find your soft palate. You're going to take your tongue back. Can you reach your tongue? Feel the heart, feel the soft. Know where that is in yourself. And you're going to just seek to create that as high as possible. And just starting with the cranium. right? Neck, can't really, you'll feel the rib cage as well, I feel it. We're just gonna start there, kind of with an inhale, we're not gonna do the deep exhale, we're just gonna keep holding that seating to create that tension up. And so then I want you to use, like, if I angle this way, what do I feel and sense, right? Lateral flexion, left and right, and what happens with rotation? You know, where do I get stretched when I go one way, where do I not get stretched, and just notice those. And then in the most uncomfortable one, I want you to stay there. So I'm gonna stay here. And we're kind of keeping on the upper fill, keep filling, so as we move down, I'm gonna fill up to the ribcage. So now I want you to put the ribcage so you can hold what you have in the neck, flex and extend the ribs, and you can even play with the shoulder blades a little bit, right? Allow them to include. Whoa. So I just eliminated what I felt in my neck, and now I want a stitch in my left side. Interesting, I'm just gonna pay attention to that and try the other way. Nothing there. So I'm just kind of going down through all the vertebra, using all three planes of motion, which end up creating little tiny figure eights. And I'm just denoting what's different, what's similar, and how can I change that by changing something else. And each time though, when it's uncomfortable, I'm still trying to, like, if I have a hook on my soft palate, pull it up, until I'm working the pelvis. So I'm using that stitch as like Howie, and then if I rotate pelvis, there we go, lift, breathe in, lift more, work through the pelvis. Oh, there we go. And then let it go. And then we're gonna do that one more time. This time you're gonna take your tongue, and you're gonna try to push your soft palate with the tongue the whole time. So same thing, now tongue lifting.
I yawned like 17 times.
You
Yawning
oh,
was like,
that's like a vagus nerve response.
don't think I'm used to breathing here.
I feel a little stoned, to be honest. Woo! And there's another Wim Hof I remember watching. He's like laying on his back, like giggling. the camera. I'm not doing it right because he looks way better off than me. I normally get at least one good self-adjustment when I do that. For me, I once we moved back to the tongue, then the neck first part went away. And then once I kind of opened up and did something to the pelvis, I don't know if it was like scapular or upper rib or thoracic, something just went boom. And I'll do this when I have time. It's kind of like my meditation and play to be in my body. I'm very, squirrel oriented. Like meditation of like just sitting there, and so I love just bringing it, just be in my body. Like there's definitely like a brain aspect that then just gets me into like the body so much more, just gets me really deep and just playing with that decompression of the spine, that lifting the soft palate where we hang from, and just trying to lift. And let's do it again. How you feeling? Yeah? Awesome.
Super relaxed, and
Yeah,
I
very
represent
relaxed.
this
I
energy. I'll do it, but yeah, no, it's super great stuff. Really awesome way to think about, because again, everything we talk about midline and middle to distal, and starts with breathing, starts with these 3 spheres. So very cool.
Yeah, that's what I was commenting on because of the lumens and light in here translates. But yeah, my that's 90% of my Instagram. How I download information to draw the human body in motion and see to translate.
Instant.
Yeah. It's more art than science, like, which I like, because it's like, it feels like, I don't know, intuitive art. Like, you're just telling narrative, it's like, oh, I can see the motion.
It's like science as art. You know what I mean? Like that step of science as art.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
like Grey's Anatomy, right? Like, it's all-
It's not telling you what to think in like with words and text. It's just sort of like, there's words here, and then kind of make up something with your imagination. So that's cool. Cool.
Yeah, love hearing that.
It's like, here's what I think with my drawing. You know what I mean? Like leave the drawing and run away. See what happens.
Yeah, the most recent one, loved tracing the spiral lines of the body, and I couldn't find anything on the arms. There's really little. There's Tom Myers lines, but they're very straight. They're the straight lines, and I was like, the body wouldn't eliminate the spiral. It loves the spiral. We are the spiral. Our DNA is the spiral. Everything comes from it.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at it, I was having a really tough time trying to trace the spiral, and then I moved the arms up here, and it was like, oh, there it is. Just boom, the spirals came out. And that's for when we're in tension, when we're
Yeah.
swinging from trees.
When you see them, like my kids, when you see them, they so beautifully swing. You're so lucid, right? They do. They swing and then you have to, or even just when you hang. If you totally let go, you start spinning.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they come down, right? They don't, there's a mechanism, twist.
It's
Yeah.
funny also because Chinese medicine, this is the anatomical position,
Yes.
whereas since all the yang lines come down from the heavens, and all the yin lines come up, so they pose it like this, but it was just interesting, like moving the model around, and I just could not, and then just when it got up here, I was like, oh, there it is. Speaking of free things, on my webpage there is a copious amount of reading material, like conseguity structures and flow, and the origins and where this all came from, so a whole bunch of free stuff on there. Like, something like 25,000 words, something like that. And then,
And where are you? Are you in Santa Cruz or?
Santa.
Santa Cruz, yeah.
I don't know, Foothills, but
Yeah. Up the hill away.
yeah.
You use Scotts Valley or
Bonnie Doon.
what is it?
Bonnie Doon?
Okay.
So it's just north, like a 4 mile Laguna, up to Davenport when you go up the one.
Okay. Oh, got it.
It's a big, pretty grassy hill.
I think I was gonna hit the restroom real quick, and then, I'll probably, Jordan, I'll probably be like,